Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this narration of the series Beyond the Void, taken from Reddit. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 8. Larkin Point of View. Nico was fuming. To have our spaceport raided by Terran military right after accepting a government contract was a major breach of trust to him. If we had evacuated the premises a second slower, we would be dead or captured right now. We had been about to depart for the clandestine Jatari base when a monstrous warship descended and human soldiers bulldozed their way through our facility. Perhaps that was punching above our weight class to take on a galaxy's most potent military, but the desire for revenge burned in his eyes nonetheless. It wasn't about money anymore. It was about settling the score. Some Federation goons had tagged along with the humans, and one of them had walked into an obvious trap. A plump, shaggy-haired Tajili male was tied up on my couch now, snoozing after a knock to the head. He must have gotten his buttons reset hard, I thought. What we were going to do with him after interrogating him was another question. Dumping his body in the canals was out of the question. Or maybe, if he cooperated, we'd release him with a message for his superiors. In all likelihood, the Tajili were the following orders and had nothing to do with the Terran government's betrayal. Reasoning with an angry human was difficult. No. Bloodshed might be the only way that they could placate Nico in his current state of mind. After spending an entire afternoon waiting on the captive to wake up, my patience was running thin as well. I decided to take a page from the human playbook and splash the prisoner in the face with a glass of cold water. His tri-colored eyes snapped open, and his gaze darted across the room. I could practically see the gears turning in his head as it all came rushing back. Finally, you're awake. Undoubtedly, the annoyance dripping from my voice served as an indicator of my foul mood. I walked over to the couch, stooping down to his prone form. Name and rank now. Gosh, patrolman. The Tajili thrashed about for a moment, trying to break the tape around his paws. Realizing it was useless, he slumped back against the cushions. Let me go now, before the Terran military come back looking for me. I'll tell them not to kill you. A mocking laugh escaped my lips. Nice try, but the humans aren't coming for you. Not with that rank. You're nobody. A pawn. Right, they wouldn't leave me, he stammered. That's cute, but even you don't believe that. I can hear it in your voice, I sneered. I have a counter-offer. You tell me everything I want to know, and the human partner might not torture you to death. Ghost shifted nervously. Human partner? Who are you? I asked the questions. What was your mission? I can't tell you that. I leaned in, ensuring that my hot breath was fell over his face. The Tajili flinched, attempting to dissolve into the cushions. This was no seasoned soldier. That much was apparent. The mere mention of torture, the slightest hint of a threat, turned him into a shriveling coward. I figured that the whole of his combat experience had been accrued in the mess hall, fighting for the lost Lbry cake. Really, from my perspective, it doesn't seem that you're in the position to refuse, I hissed. I will not sully the Federation's name by aiding its enemies. To do what you must, Gosh whimpered. I am not your enemy. Listen, I am trying to help you. I forced a sympathetic look into my face. The sky would squeal under duress, I was certain, but that would squander precious time. The humans have ways of extracting information that are quite painful. Unless you welcome a slow, excruciating stay, I suggested we do this the easy way. The Tajili hesitated for a moment, no doubt imagining the human torture methods. The Terran's reputation was enough to induce fear in the most hardened individuals. That was the appeal of working with one, post-war. Nobody wanted to get on the violent side of a volatile species with unparalleled creativity. With a little more prodding, my pudgy patrolman would give us everything. Gosh drew a sudden breath. I don't want anyone else to get hurt because of what I say. What are you going to do to me if I tell you? It's simple. Nico's voice answered from behind me, and I nearly jumped out of my fur. The human had entered without my sensing his presence. Who knew how long he'd been lurking? We want to know why the Terran military attacked an agency contractor. Agency? The patrolman repeated. I don't understand. My partner grinned. You don't know then? That Rykov chap really involved you in Feddies without telling you that they were attacking his own people. What do you mean? The hostility flickered in the cautious eyes, replaced by shock. "Are you saying that you're with the Terran government?" "Bingo. The agency is slang for the Human Intelligence Services, always up to some secretive bullshit." "What, secretive bullcrap are you up to now?" "I don't know, you tell me, gosh. Why would they hire us, then sick their dogs on us before we could complete the job?" "Well, Rykov isn't acting on any directive from Earth. He's just tracking a ship called Pisces." "Why? What is so special about that ship?" "There was a terrible accident along my patrol route. An entire crew found dead. The only crew was a log fragment talking about the ship by that name." "Then why would the head of Federation Command care?" Nico's question parroted the words in my mind. It made no sense that an ordinary transport, which hadn't left its docking port in cycles, would be connected with a ghost ship. It made even less sense that a high-ranking general would take a personal interest in the case. Such minutiae was beneath his office. This was the equivalent of enlisting a brain surgeon to treat a headache. "Because Rykov is amongst the dead," Gorsh muttered. It was Nico's turn to look confused. "What? What? That's some crazy nonsense you're spouting. Rykov is very much alive. I saw him in the spaceport." "I know. But the corpse we have is definitely him. By every metric, facial recognition, DNA, fingerprints. They can't all be wrong." "I'm sorry, are you telling me someone is cloning human generals?" "No. From what we can tell, his death hasn't happened yet. We're trying to prevent it." "So it's all the talk of some psychic, a bad omen and tea leaves." The human laughed incredulously, shaking his head. "The general's gone mad then. From the words that you were using, I thought that it was real, tangible, but this is ludicrous." "It is real. The Federation conducted a full forensic investigation of the ship. And their findings..." "Yes?" "The date logs was from 5 days in the future. Your people are experimenting with some portal. That's all I know." Nico stroked his chin, emerald eyes glowing with excitement. Did the human actually believe that this was a babble? I was starting to think the Gorsh had been clubbed over the head a bit too hard to conjure up such a fantastical delusions. Dead people from the future didn't just materialize out of thin air. "Boss, this guy's either Yankee Gold Chain or he's nuts," I growled. Nico pulled me aside, lowering his voice. "He seems grounded enough, and what's more, his story checks out. They asked for the Pisces by name, according to my people. I guess the agency didn't sell us out after all." "So, we just do the job is still on then? What's about this Richards guy?" I asked. "With some minor changes, depending on what the Jatari are testing, we might keep it for ourselves." "But the 20 million credits, 20 million? Fecking hell, forget the credits, Larkin. If we can travel back in time, we can rule the galaxy. We will be the gods, rich beyond measure." "Yes, but the whole premise seems impossible." "If the Federation found a ship from the future, we already know it's possible. We just need to get our hands on the tech, one way or another." "What makes you think that the Jari have it? Gorsh said that it's your people testing it." "Richard said that there were some massive energy readings by the base. It's either a portal, a new drive, or a weapon." "And if it's a weapon, that seems most likely to me." "Then we use it with a bargaining chip. The energy readings were large enough for the agency to detect. Then it's a planet killer. They might be more amenable to sharing that tech with a bomb pointed at Earth." You would point an untested weapon at your own planet?" "Not my planet. I don't live there, do I? And neither do you, Larkin. So don't go getting all sentimental on me." I despised the idea of holding a human cradle world hostage, thief or not. I didn't gallivant about murdering civilians. Well, Nico wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. There was no way that he had any intentions of putting the trigger either. Otherwise, I would never agree to it. I was merely an intimidation tactic to bring the Terran Union to the table. As dishonorable as those methods were, the potential rewards outweighed any moral qualms. I envisioned it in my head. An empire that stretched across the galaxy, brimming with untapped riches, loyal subjects who worshipped us, revering our names in song and prayer. The ability to weave the threads of history just like the true gods of the universe. How could anyone resist such a temptation? "Oh, fine, I'm in," I sighed. The human clapped a hand on my back. "That's the spirit. I knew I could count on you, Larkin. Let's go spring the Pisces and fulfill our destiny." "Hell, leave that up to me. It seems that I already figured it out once, didn't I?" "And, what do we do with Gorsh?" I asked. "He's a loose end." Him? Nico smirked. Take him with us. We might find a way to make him useful yet. End of chapter. The algorithm reckons you should be watching this video next, and I recommend that you should be always watching my video. So, click with energy! And yes, clicking that does help the channel. Thank you very much. I just quickly want to thank the Tier 5 patrons and channel members: Alithia Barkey, Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Albard and Guster, Arcadian, Lord Azrakal, and Joachim Backer.